Hey folks, Malforian here, and today we're going to be talking about Millennia because we got a bit of a surprise, the release date for the game. I'm not going to mess you around, it is on March the 26th, 2024, and as part of the announcement we also got some further information about what versions are going to be available and the first few DLC as well, so we're going to cover all that today in the video. And then also on top of that we got the Ages Part 2 Dev Diary, and that is a full breakdown of every age that's in the game and a little bit of information on it. So we're going to go over that. There'll be timestamps during this video, so you can skip around to whichever bits you're interested in seeing. But we're just going to get straight into it. So as I said, it is coming on March 26th, which is a bit of a surprise to me. I kind of thought this was coming later in the year. They did just have a demo as part of Steam Next Fest. I guess that just went really well, and they're happy with how the game is at the moment, and they feel like it's in a release state, so that's awesome. We get to play this game next month. So a bit of a busy March for us Paradox players. We've got the Crusader Kings 3 expansion, and we've got this now coming next month. So we're all going to be super busy map painting next month and beyond. And then as you can see here, the pre-purchase is also live. The base game in US dollars is going to be $40, and the premium edition is going to be $60, and the premium edition comes with 2 skins for units, an instant unlock, and 2 of the upcoming expansions, which is Ancient Worlds and Atomic Ambitions. Now, the pre-order bonus, if you do pre-order this, is the official soundtrack, so you get to listen to the music before the game came out. You obviously get the base game in both editions, and then the premium edition, I'll put a little graphic on the screen that they released, will give you the DLC 1, Ancient Worlds, that's coming in Q3 2024, and then the DLC 2 is Atomic Ambitions, and that is coming in Q4 2024. And then the day 1 unlock is Eagle Archers and Wolfpack Warband. What do they all do? Well, thankfully, on the official Discord, they actually gave a little bit more information, so we're going to go through that now as well. So the day 1 unlock, as they mentioned, is a reskin, basically. So this gives you an exclusive Wolfpack Warband and Eagle Archer clothing, which basically just changes how your archers look. Nothing outside of that, just like a cosmetic change for them. And then the 2 DLC, which they did also mention is going to be sold later on as an expansion pass separately. At the moment, you can only get the standard edition and the premium edition, but they've already said later on you will be able to buy these DLC as a pack as well on their own. Gives you a little bit of a chance to see if you're enjoying the game, and then if you do, you can obviously give a little bit more money to them, support the game, and get those extra DLC as well. The first one is Ancient Worlds. This one sounds really cool. This is basically like an early game. You start the game as wandering nomads before you even have a settlement, and this includes a new nomadic game option start, a new national spirit, a new economic good on the map, and a new nation starting bonus, which is all pretty cool. One thing I have said during all the Dev Diary coverage, which I have been covering, if you're new here and you're wondering what Millennia is, I've covered all the Dev Diaries up to today. I'll leave a link to the playlist down below if you're interested in catching up with all the news that we've had on this game. And during all of those, I've always said the way this game is set up with the national spirits, the economic items, the national bonuses, and the eras, I think this game can have so much cool DLC that like they can keep making different national spirits and they kind of like slot into the game in a way that makes sense. And then obviously I imagine if we get larger expansions, we'll get a bunch of other features and things like that. But I think these like smaller DLC where we're going to get a little bit of everything in is a really cool way for this game to keep growing in the future. And then the second DLC was Atomic Ambitions. Unlock the mystery of the atom and change the world forever in Atomic Ambitions. This expansion adds ways to harness the power of the atom for the good of all mankind, but there are also ways to turn the planet into a fallout-filled wasteland if you aren't careful, or I guess if you want to do that, I suppose. Includes 2 new ages, a new national spirit, and for nuclear options for the strategic warfare system. So again, this is going to add another national spirit. So if you have both of these DLC, you're going to have 2 additional national spirits, you're going to have 2 additional ages, and then some other additional content as well. And the price difference is $20. So is that good for you? Obviously, I can't say. It's all relative. I'll probably pick up the premium edition because all these DLCs sound cool, little additions to the game. One's very early game, one's for later in the game, which is nice. It's going to kind of expand the scope of the game itself. I'm looking forward to this. I like these DLCs. They sound pretty cool. I'm looking forward to giving those a try as well. And as I said, it is coming in a month, which is crazy. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. You're going to be picking up Millennia. Did you enjoy playing the demo during Steam Next Fest? And what do you think of these DLCs and how they're doing the DLC? It does look like, at least at the start, we're getting basically smaller DLC because Q3 for the first one, Q4 for the second one is pretty quick for these DLCs. And is that the way you want them to do it? Would you rather have smaller DLC like this, or do you want them to do like bigger expansions every year or something? I quite like the idea if they carry on this way of these kind of smaller expansion passes, just adding little bits of content more often I don't want to say like a live service game. I think that has like negative connotations, but I think that's a cool way to do a game like this that isn't as huge as like a Civilization game or something. I think having these smaller packs that you can just pick up if you want to is the better way of doing it. But anyway, that is all the pre-order and release date news on the video today. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. We are going to carry on with the Ages Part 2 Dev Diary. So if you're not interested in sticking around for that, make sure you've hit like and make sure you've subscribed to the channel if you've enjoyed what you've seen today. There'll be a lot of Millennia when it comes out, and then I also play a lot of other Paradox games on the channel as well. Cover Dev Diaries, news, all that cool stuff. But on that note, we're going to carry on with the Ages. And as I said, this is basically a breakdown of all the ages in the game. So there's going to be quite a bit of information here, but if you've not seen their like videos that they've been releasing like one at a time about each age, this video is basically going to be a good way of getting a rough overview of how all of them work in the game. So that's the idea. But the first thing we're going to talk about here is actually the lead designer who wrote this dev diary is just talking about ages in general. And they basically want to give us a better view. I think there's some players who see like Age of Blood, oh, that's a bad thing to be in. Age of Plague, why would I ever want to be in Age of Plague? Like some of them are good or bad. And what they're talking about here is not really to look at ages in that way. So as they're saying here, to begin with, Variant and Crisis ages are not good or bad. They know at first glance if something's called Historical, Crisis, or Variant, people will have that connotation of, oh, Historical is the good one, Crisis is the bad one, and Variant is the like optional different one. They really want you to come into the game with a mindset of like, none of these are bad, they're just different ways of playing it, and you can tell different stories with different versions of the ages as you play through the game. Because I think, to be honest, if you do play through the game and only do Historical, or only ever do the same ages, I think the replayability of the game is kind of hampered that way. I know that kind of makes sense, but I think there will be some people who just try play through the game the good way. And I think just going through, having bad things happen, oh, if you fall into doing a Age of Blood, I'm going to play that out and see how it does, rather than thinking, oh no, I'm getting near an Age of Blood, I think I need to try get out of that. I want to get to the Age of Kings or something instead. I think just letting it go with the flow, see how the game like naturally progresses is going to be the way to play this game, rather than trying to rigidly stay to a version of your campaign that you want. Obviously, if you want to do that, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying I think you'll get more out of the game if you kind of go with the flow and how it plays out as you're playing the game, which did kind of happen during the demo campaign that I did on the channel. We were going to go for, I think, Age of Kings, and then we ended up just fighting so many battles. I was like, well, Age of Blood just makes sense. But Variant and Crisis ages are not designed to be rewards are good, penalties are bad. Rather, Variant and Crisis ages are based on the idea of being different. They are better or worse for individual nations, depending on their position in the game. But you do not get a Variant age for being very good, and you don't get a Crisis age if you're getting stomped by somebody. It's other requirements to do so. Instead of play performance, what triggers Variant and Crisis ages is focus, actions or inactions in the world. As I did a video, I think about a month ago, I think the title of the video was Be What You Are or something. And that video was all about how I enjoyed the fact that in this game, how you play the game kind of shapes your nation. If you do a lot of warfare, you can pick up a lot of warfare bonuses. If you do a lot of diplomacy, you then unlock more diplomacy points and basically use those to get better and better at diplomacy. You know, really leaning into some of these can work out well. But also, if it starts going wrong, you can switch into something else. But it just takes, you know, it takes a little bit of time to kind of steer your nation in another direction. It's not like some other 4X games where you can go, okay, this isn't working, I'm just going to suddenly go to warfare, and I was a diplomat before. If you do that, you are going to be a little bit behind because you've not been earning that warfare XP, for example. And I really like that. You're really building your nation through the actions you take, and I think that is awesome. And I think that's what's going to bring people back to this game in the future, or that's what I think anyway. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. But as they say here, when going from age 2 to 3, which was the last age change in the demo, if you do more than the typical amount of exploring, you can get the Age of Heroes. If you do more than the typical amount of fighting, you could go into the Age of Blood. And if you're down the middle, you could just go to the Age of Iron instead. So again, these 3 different options that you can choose between. And then as we were just saying, they're saying here, that is basically the history of your nation changing depending on your decisions. And it isn't the game trying to reward or punish you. It's just really the game trying to guide and help you carry on down the path you've done. Not rewarding you, as they say, but kind of like giving you more unlocks. If you're more warfare focused, you're getting more warfare items. If you're more diplomacy focused, you're getting more diplomacy. It kind of like steers your nation in how you're playing. And then similarly, victory ages are not arranged with any kind of performance based. If you do well, you will get this one structure. But as with the earlier ages, there is an entry requirement. Obviously, you can't just pick them at any point and choose it, but you can kind of get these loose requirements to start one. And as we saw in one of the earlier dev diaries, when you start a victory age, it starts it for everyone, so you've got to be careful. You can think, oh, I'm going to win, I'm going to activate a victory age, but then if somebody else has been stockpiling stuff ready for that, they could actually beat you in your victory age and win the game instead of you, which is really cool. It'd be interesting to see how much the AI does that, but I would imagine multiplayer, that's going to be a strategy people do use. The age structure overall gives Millennia a way to provide deeper, more focused experiences, but this is really true through the victory ages. Since victory ages contain the rules that will be used to win, everyone can know and be focused on what is important. There is a shared win condition, which cuts down a lot on the surprise you lost endgames. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, for the rest of the dev diary, we're basically just getting a breakdown of every age that's in the game, all the variant, crisis, and victory ages. And we're going to go through each of those now quickly. So, Age of Heroes, currently the first possible variant age. The Age of Heroes takes inspiration from Greek epics like the Odyssey. You get to develop powerful hero leaders in this age and send them out to complete quests, which provide valuable rewards unique to the age. In addition to allowing some interesting quest-based strategy and hero leader strategies, this variant is just fun for players who enjoy early expansion gameplay, and quest system refreshes the set of things out there for you to discover. So kind of a little mini game basically. If you activate the Age of Heroes, you get these additional quests and you kind of go exploring in the world. So again, if you like exploring, this is a cool one for you to do. Age of Blood, we did this one in the demo campaign that we did. If you enjoy fighting a lot, you can activate this, and then everyone is at war during the entire age, so you can't have peace, you're just fighting each other, you get some cool additional units, and you can spawn armies. If you're going for that really early expansion, try and knock out as many people as you can, this is a cool one to choose. You can just go crazy. Keep expanding. Unrest isn't as bad, so taking cities and stuff isn't as negative as it can be in the normal age, and it's just a cool one to do. If you like fighting, it's just, you know, blood for the blood god, basically, and it's pretty insane playing through it. The next one is Age of Monuments, which is a variant age. The Monuments variant age explores an alternate history where building ancient megastructures like the pyramids became a greater focus for all nations. This age presents a number of unique construction options, the monuments, as well as a number of construction-based bonuses that can be valuable long after you've moved beyond this age. This variant also makes possible the construction of super monuments, large undertakings that can provide a great boost to the region when completed. And then, as they do mention here, and was covered in previous dev diaries, when you move into one of these ages, you get unique things, but they do carry on into the rest of the game. They don't just disappear because you're no longer in the Age of Monuments. These monuments that you've built, you get to keep them for later in the game. And the same with all the other ones. Any unlocks you get, you can use those later in the game as well. So again, it changes the entire game depending on which one you choose. The next one is Age of Plagues. The Age of Plagues can come about if you overheat your expansion. A heavy focus on growing population can produce more workers and rapidly expand an economy, but higher populations bring about additional needs, in this case the sanitation need. So if you focus heavily on population growth but do not focus on the sanitation needs that they have, you will drift into an Age of Plague. This is where basically you don't keep your cities tidy enough and clean enough, and plagues just go crazy. And there's a lot of population, but there's also a lot of plagues and disease. I can't wait to give that one a go on the channel. Age of Discovery, which is the next variant one. Discovery explores an alternate history where the drive to cross the oceans and explore is supercharged. The ability to cross deep water and to conduct expeditions are part of the standard age progress, but Discovery introduces superior naval and scout options and also presents more valuable expeditions via the Cities of Gold. Oh, that sounds cool. On a map with multiple landmasses surrounded by deep water, moving into the Age of Discovery can be an open the floodgates event. So again, this is one that you're going to think, well, I'm on a map with a lot of islands. Maybe I fill my continent or my island up. I want to move elsewhere. Well, I think moving into an Age of Discovery, if possible, is going to help me a lot. We can really go out exploring the world. We can find these Cities of Gold, which I imagine give you gold and other bonuses, I would imagine. And then you're kind of using that to move your realm outside of your initial landmass. I think that's where that one's going to make the most sense. Age of Intolerance is the crisis age next. Once the ability to create or adopt a state religion is introduced, intolerance can come about if your nation fails to meet the faith need of its population. This crisis is something of an amplification of Millennia's base religion model. Nations with the same religion normally have a diplomatic bonus, and those of differing religions have the opposite, obviously a bit of a negative modifier, but during intolerance, these modifiers are far stronger. Similarly, bonuses and penalties for having your population following your religion are also multiplied. So this is really splitting the nations out into kind of like new alliances of faith, which is, going to be pretty scary as you see the landscape of the game change depending on who's following what. The end result tends to be more pronounced expansion of religion and conflict during the age, but both this and the content unique to this age have a lot of impact in the future, particularly for the importance of religion and the tools you have to influence it in later ages. So again, if you don't have this, you're still going to have religions in the game, but if you do end up going into an age of intolerance, there's obviously all the difference that's going to make in itself with alliances, people liking you or not. But then obviously you do unlock these additional mechanics that you keep for the rest of the game. The next one is Age of Conquest. I think this is our first victory age. Yes, it is. And this presents an alternate history involving early global domination that doesn't come to an end, an empire of Cyrus, Alexander, and Genghis that keeps going. This is the first victory age, and it comes before the final age of the game. It is what we call the off-ramp victory age. Again, they covered this in an earlier dev diary, saying they wanted a way, if you're just so far ahead of everyone else, that you could finish the game, as it were, without having to just stop playing the game because you're just doing so well. There is going to be these off-ramp victory ages where you can just say, look, I'm so far ahead in the game, I'm going to activate this, and then if it's take over everyone, you can just do that and the game ends because you've just won and there's no way for anyone to come back. Whereas usually you would have to just carry on playing anyway, or just go, well, I've won, I'm just going to stop playing the game. This allows you to actually officially end a campaign early if you're doing so well to do so. At the same time, it is something of a gamble. You need to be pretty dominant to trigger this because once you do, you will be at war with everyone. If you don't win the fight against the world here, your losses might land you in a less than dominant position when the next age begins. So this is a gamble. If you're so far ahead, you can press it. If you kill everyone, then you win the game. But if they all ally together and obviously beat you but don't fully destroy you, the game does continue. You kind of fail this age of conquest and you're obviously going to be a lot less powerful and everyone else is going to be doing better. So I really love this system of these off-ramp ideas, but I do like the idea of where this comes in as well. It makes sense. You've played quite a bit of the game. If you're so far ahead, you can get out if you want to. The next one we're going to go on to is the Age of Heresy, which is a crisis age. Culture is a valuable resource in the game, both to gain access to the cultural powers and also to support your expansion. Your population has a general need for culture too, and if you don't provide it, or don't provide enough of it, they might go looking for it on their own. They just go, I'm off, you're not doing what I want, goodbye. The Heresy Crisis explores an alternate history, one where cultists are growing in numbers and power, pursuing unknown objectives. Interesting, there's no more information there. Do you get splintered cities that leave your empire? That would be awesome, like civil wars starting. That one sounds really cool and interesting. Next one is Age of Alchemy, which is a variant age. This variant age allows you to explore an alternate history where elements of alchemy are more than pseudoscience. Arcana is introduced in this age as a good, as are alchemists, improvements to make this new resource, and goods lines. Signature to the idea of alchemy, this age treats gold as a prominent good and allows a number of ways to obtain it and also convert it into a wide range of resources. Many of the ages involve additions or changes to the economic model. This is more extensive in alchemy. So yeah, this sounds like it changes the goods system almost entirely. It looks like you can transmute gold into other resources, and it's going to be more about getting as much gold as you can to then do other things, which is going to be a vast change to the campaign. If this does happen, this sounds like one definitely we want to do on the channel at some point. The Age of Ether is the next variant age. This is inspired by predictions made about the future in the late 1800s. This supposes things like a continuation of steam power and the skies filled with flying machines. Ether unlocks a number of unique additions that come from this space, including steam fighter aircraft, land ships, and improvements operated by autonomous workers. At the center of all this is a new resource, Ether, which is, among other things, an early source of power. So this one is crazy, like steampunk alternate universe. And then as we've seen, these items will carry on into the future. Now, I guess steam fighter aircraft will get outdone by future improvements, but again, going into a normal age after this, but you've got steam fighter aircraft is going to be pretty cool. And as I've said, just the replayability is going to be pretty crazy. And then the next one is Age of Ignorance, which is a crisis age. The Ignorance Crisis is themed after a backlash to industrial and technological advancement. If you focus heavily on knowledge, which comes to require education, but then don't actually educate your people, you can trigger the Age of Ignorance. This crisis has a somewhat different structure to other ages, with a small number of very expensive technologies. So yeah, there's only 3 options for technology in this age, because I guess it's the Age of Ignorance. They don't want to learn about things. And then funnily enough, the one after this is Age of Rocketry, so it's like the exact opposite. Yeah, it looks like you can basically have garrison state, urban sprawl, exploitation, so it's all about people not wanting to get better technology, but you can use other ways to kind of get a bonus out of doing this age if you hit it. The Age of Harmony is a victory age. This provides an opportunity for religion-focused off-ramp. If a nation has managed to get a high percentage of the world population to follow their religion, the harmony victory can trigger, and this presents an opportunity to achieve victory by converting a large population to one state religion. Content unlocked in this age can be valuable even if you do not achieve the victory, along with additional tools for spreading religion. Secularism is weakened and delayed by harmony, and this can help a nation with a religion strategy later in the game. So this one is a victory age very like the earlier one, but this one seems a little less punishing if you're not successful. As they say, you do still get the bonuses that you unlock during this age to kind of have a weaker religious victory later on if you can't just hammer it down in this age itself and basically just win the game. The Age of Utopia is next. Utopia is inspired by, as the name says, the visions of a utopian future. Mechanically, Utopia has ties to the innovation system, and a number of rewards surface through innovation events during this age. There are a number of unique unlocks that support the Utopia concept, but the ability to build underwater cities is probably the most symbolic content of this age, and the most meaningful change to come from it from a strategic perspective, because as we've discussed before, you can use these underwater cities later in the game as well. They don't just go away after the age finishes. You obviously keep these later on, so you're going to have these underwater cities. Other people could have them as well. Everyone gets pulled into this age. But if you're kind of more advanced and you're choosing the age, you're probably going to have the ability to take most advantage from it. The next one is basically the opposite. Dystopia is inspired by the common fears of the future: acid rain, global warming, overpopulation, and is associated with the chaos system, which is in the game all the way through from the start. Mechanically, this crisis comes around primarily by allowing chaos levels to grow and stay high, and it also makes itself felt through unique chaos events. Riots from an unhappy populace are common during this age, and finding ways to deal with them, especially ways that do not add more chaos to your pile, is an important part of navigating this age. So I can imagine this one really causing like the downfall of civilizations in the game, because you're going to have a lot of these rebellions and unhappy people kind of rising up to try to take you down. And if you're not ready for it, it could really cause some crazy splintering of civilizations. This one's going to be a cool way to shake up the map potentially at this point in the game. The next one is Age of Generals. In a rough sense, the Age of Generals is their equivalent of World War II. Like Conquest, it is triggered by having substantially more power than other nations, but Generals also has a factional component, so it needs not be only one nation trying to defeat the others. Position where it is in the timeline, Generals also features a number of unique unlocks that represent the industrialization and military development as the result of the war, which, like many of the other ages, can be utilized later, even if you do not win the General's attempt. So again, this being a victory one, you can try do a full conquest victory, but if it doesn't work out for you, you are still getting all these additional bonuses that you've picked up along the way doing this. The next one is Age of Ecology, which is a variant age. This age explores an alternate history where human development is more focused on mastery over the environment. As that suggests, there are a number of unique unlocks that can provide alternate ways to get power or meet the population needs later in the game. You also unlock terraforming by ecology, which is pretty cool. So if a power core flattened mountain seems like it could be useful, try Detour through this age. Oh, that is pretty cool, actually. If you start somewhere with a lot of mountains, you can just chop them down, basically, and have some more useful land. Investment in social fabric is necessary to get into this age, and ecology offers good opportunities to further increase social fabric, making this a good option if you're trying for the Transcendence victory, which they're going to get into later on. Age of Visitors, this is a cool one. This is one they've kind of hinted at during all the dev diaries, and again, there's no information here. They don't want to spoil it for us, so we'll just figure this one out. But obviously, Age of Visitors, and I think they've hinted at this is where aliens come down, and there's loads of crazy stuff that happens due to that. That is going to stay a mystery, and I kind of like that. We'll obviously see during our campaigns exactly what happens there. And then the next four are all victory ages, so these are all endgame ones. This is how you basically win the game. The first one being Age of the Archangel. Archangel is a future where space has been weaponized and orbital lasers, the Archangels, can make an appearance on the battlefield. Technically, the victory condition this age is to simply have more population than the other nations, so you could win without ever firing an Archangel simply by managing your regional growth really well. However, you can increase your relative population by erasing other people's population. So we both know that lasers are going to come out. I do like that. Like, you can win being nice, but also you can up your percentage by wiping out other nations with these space lasers. This is all about victory, but again, not a warfare one technically. I guess you just get control of these Archangel weapons and then just kind of cut out swathes of other nations. But as they say here, this is a really strong option if you have a large population spread out across a number of regions, because I guess the Archangels decimate large bits of a region. You kind of want to be spread out so you don't get wiped out through these lasers. Age of Transcendence, the next victory one. a generally more peaceful way to achieve victory. Transcendence is based on your social fabric. You must maximize it to win. Much of the content around this age scales in value based on how well you've built your nation, the number of allies you have, the number of landmarks you've discovered. If you've done Age of Heroes, this is going to be a good one to aim for as well. That is all about finding landmarks early in the game. The number of regions you have with no unrest, making this a good option if you've invested more into diplomacy and quality of life, and I guess exploration as well to get allies and landmarks and all that cool stuff as well. So this is more of a general victory one, I think, rather than something you super focus on. If you're just playing well in a general manner, you're probably going to go for this one. Age of Departure. This is where you build a colony ship and get off this rock. As the colony ship is very expensive to complete, nations with high overall production will seek out this age, which itself offers an array of options for building up substantial production lines. However, you will also need to defend your industry too. Nations with less production aren't likely to sit around and just let you win. So in this, you're building factories to build the colony ship, and if somebody else is going for that, you can obviously go in, destroy these factories, take those cities that have them, and then prevent them from getting this victory win. And then the last one in this pretty long video in the end is Age of Singularity. In the end stages of Millennia, there are some technologies that allow your nation to really build up their knowledge economy. Everyone likes knowledge. It's fun to unlock new technologies, but there are risks for this. If you go too much too fast, in a rush to get as much knowledge as possible, the obvious will happen. The obvious being that the computers will wake up and decide to obliterate humanity. So as far as victory ages are concerned, this one might seem a little less unvictorious in that it produces a large, angry enemy of all AI that rampages across the planet. However, the victory condition here is just to survive, and if you have the better defenses than other nations, it might be the way to go. So I guess this is a cool one if you've done a lot of warfare, you've built up your forts, you've built up your defenses, and you've got a wide range of units and things like that. You could think, well, do you know what, I'm going to trigger this Age of Singularity. I'm going to bring in the AI crazy robots, and yeah, I've got to defend against them, but I think I'm set up best to do that, and I'm going to win, and everyone else is going to die. I actually really like this age. It's a cool way of doing a military victory without it just being, oh, just kill everyone or have the most amount of units or something. This is have that, but then there is this additional step of having to survive a crazy AI enemy coming in and trying to kill everyone. I really like how that is a twist on that formula. And with that, that is the end of the dev diary today. So thank you very much if you've stuck around for it all. I guess most of you off-ramp victoried after the early news on the DLC and things like that, but if you have stuck around to the end, make sure you've hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new here. I'll obviously be playing Millennia when it comes out. I did do a demo run as well recently on the channel during Steam Next Fest, and I'm still going to be covering the dev diaries news, all that cool stuff in the build-up to release. And outside of that, I do cover a lot of Crusader Kings and other historical strategy games as well. But I'm going to leave you there for today, and I'll see you in the next one.